it falls unconscious without doubt. It may even die in that stage. Here, if it dies before it's slaughtered and killed, it becomes haram as well. For Allah Jalla wa Ala says, إِلَّا مَا ذَكَّيْتُمْ, that you must slaughter it in order for it to become halal for you. So if it's not slaughtered at that stage, and it dies on account of having its brain blown out, you cannot consume it. And once more, if it gets mixed with the other animals that, let's say, supposedly are killed properly, you cannot discern what is and what is not halal. It also has a number of negative effects on the meat itself. Many reports from the 80s even, and the 70s, that state the negative effect and harm upon the meat in general when the brain is blown out. And the brain particles go into the bloodstream, and then it affects the meat in that sense. The next method would be the gunshot. Of course, I've seen it myself on cow farms and everywhere else. They take what we call a cow, they blast its brain out with a bullet. It drops dead, of course. At times it won't be dead right away. They can get to it before it's slaughtered, but other times it dies. And over here in Canada, in the States in general, in North America, what happens is that if the animal dies shortly before it's slaughtered, it's still okay. There's no problem with it. But of course, according to Muslims, we cannot just eat anything like that. You have to be sure, 100%, that it's still alive, so that the blood drains out of the body. For if it dies, the blood it remains in the body, it would not come out. And this would be, in effect, would have a harmful effect on the meat itself. The electrical method, this is as well getting very common with a stunned animal with a high voltage. And if it dies in this state, it becomes haram as well for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what made it. So it becomes haram for you on account of it being shocked, electrocuted, and if it dies in that state, you cannot consume it. Now, the issue here over here we have before us, when does the food of Ahl Al-Kitaab become halal to us? That's the Christians and Jews, what they slaughter. We have over here pictures of a proper slaughtering, how it's done. Face it towards the Qibla, mention Allah's name, cut the jugular vein and the esophagus. And the blood drains out, in that case it becomes halal. Whereas, if it's not done in this method, the blood will stay in the body, and you cannot consume that meat thereafter. During the Prophet's time, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Christians and Jews were killing the way that the Muslims would slaughter. Exactly. There was no captive bolt system, no electrical shocks, nothing. It would be exactly as the Muslims do it. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave that ruling that you can eat from what they have slaughtered, and Allah revealed that verse, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ, it refers to the state where they do it like the Muslims do it. That it's slaughtered properly. Till today it is. You find it up north, further up north, when on certain farms, when animals are not killed for mass production, you find that yes, the animal is still killed in that way. So if there's a Christian or a Jew doing that in that way, you can consume it without doubt. But if it's prepared for mass production, this whole method of killing it individually is overlooked. It's no longer done to begin with. And it's against the Canadian law over here to kill it individually in this manner. Actually, the only time that you can kill an animal properly, Islamically, is in the Udhiyah. The Eid al-Adha. That's the Eid coming up pretty soon in the Hajj, the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah. They allow it for the Muslims to kill without the captive bolt system, without making it unconscious. But beyond that, in any other state, it's not allowed. You have to go through the system that's mentioned over here. So I did a little survey myself. I want to see if it's actually a condition, because many of these older factories, abattoirs and slaughterhouses, they're Christian in their roots. They came from Christian origins in the 30s, the 40s. It was a predominantly Christian society back then, and these factories grew up or were basically founded in that time when the Christians were, you can say, the majority in these fields. So I basically went to a number of abattoirs, Maple Lodge and whatever else, and I asked them for application forms to apply as a skilled, like a slaughterer to work in cutting the meat. So I received the application forms. Nothing and nowhere does it state that you have to be a Christian or a Jew. Of course, they can't do it legally to begin with because this is discrimination. But this does basically bring to mind something. That the people who work in the field of slaughtering animals, they'll be taken from the immediate area. So in our area over here, whether in Vancouver, Lower Mainland in general, I don't think that there is a Christian majority. Rather, I see it to be a non-Christian majority. whether they be Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Taoists, whatever it may be, depending on the population over here, the religion would be on account of the people that live in the area. And these people would be then taken to work inside the factories, the abattoirs, to slaughter, to prepare the meat, whatever else. So without doubt, that sense of this being a Christian country in our region would not be applicable, because the people who work in this field are non-Christians. So I came to this conclusion that in the most part, Christian factories are not all that Christian. Even if they're Christian in their origin, their base, today they're no longer Christian factories, so to say. It's changed. But it's with the kosher it's still the same. It's not changed at all. The kosher style of slaughtering animals, whatever else, it's like the Muslim style exactly. And I was kind of amazed too, because they're quite keen on cleanliness as well. They go above and over and beyond cleaning, scrubbing, whatever else, the utensils that are being used. And the places where the animals are killed, it's extremely clean. They have a rabbi coming, I think it's every week, once a week at least, to inspect, a rabbi, to inspect the facility. So they still do it in that same method. So you can eat without doubt from a Jewish factory, or from let's say a Jew who is selling meat. So you can eat from them without doubt as a Muslim. It becomes halal to the ayah here applies. وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. But in terms of a Christian now, if we cannot find, you can say, practicing Christians who are taking care of the slaughter as the Jews do or as the Muslims do, then we cannot eat of that food. And this is something we have to keep in our minds. Poultry, it's even worse actually. It's downright nasty when it comes to poultry, how it's killed. It's basically what they call a water bath stunner or a CO2 chamber. So they'll tie chicken individually, hang them upside down, and they will then, on this conveyor belt, and it'll go into what you call the water, and there's a uniform electric current in the water. So as they go in the water, they'll all be shocked at 100 volts or a bit more than that. So when they're shocked, they go partially, or you can say temporarily, they become paralyzed. Some of them even die. And there's a helicopter blade that would spin at a very high velocity to chop off the necks, sever the throats from the body. So this is the method that they use over here. And it's, of course, no matter who it is that's pushing the button to send the chickens out, there's no one saying Bismillah before the animals are being killed. And it's done in an inappropriate method. A CO2 chamber is the same thing. The animals go in the same process. In a closed room, they're gassed, they come out unconscious, even dead at times. And then this is a process for you to consume in that method. So if it's dead before it actually is slaughtered, it becomes haram for you to consume. This is something I found interesting over here. It says over here, a substantial number of the poultry were killed as a result of the shock from the sun, the water bath sun. 24% dead in the UK. 17 to 37% in the USA. Now when it dies in this sense, if they can be separated from the ones that have not been killed, that would be something, but they're not separated. They're all mixed together, processed as one. So you cannot discern what is and what is not killed appropriately. 1/3 of the birds are dead in the center, 1/3 not stunned properly. So they will be flapping around, and the blade will come and slice them at their necks, at their heads, even at their midsection, whatever else, and this would actually cause more pain. This is haram as well in Islam, to inflict pain upon an animal in that sense. This is kind of disgusting, but I found this, I put it over here. It said birds, after they are chopped up in the helicopter blade, they're not left to basically die or to bleed out. They're directly taken in the next step into a big tank. And the tank has, like steam at high temperatures to remove the feathers from the bird itself. So some of the workers over there, they said that the birds flop and scream and kick, and their eyeballs pop out of their heads at the intense heat of the steam that they're exposed to. Okay, now, just to give you an idea, now you have an idea roughly about the foods of Ahl Al-Kitaab. Now, there are misconceptions, and these over here, I've taken them from the many questions that the sheikhs are asked when they come over here, that da'is, they're asked when they come. You find it in general, something that is asked commonly and often. So we'll look at them individually, inshallah. The first, don't ask, just eat. This is based on a hadith. The hadith is authentic. Now, of course, as we know, before we take a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a narration of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we've got to ask that question. Is it authentic or not?